Ahoy me hearties, and welcome to this Kickstarter review for Reaper Miniatures Bones V Kickstarter expansion set Brinewind City of Pirates. This is the 5th deep dive review for the Bones V Kickstarter. If you haven't seen my reviews of the core set or any of the other previous expansions, Dungeon Dwellers, Daimyo, Dark Depths, or Greek Odyssey, I recommend clicking on the card in the top right corner to check out the playlist, or by visiting my channel where you can find all the videos available there for this Kickstarter series and more to come, along with a few more general TTRPG painting videos. Tide's coming in fast, so if you want any of this treasure before it's buried again, you better head over to the 5.5 Pledge Manager soon. It's the only way to get these at Kickstarter prices before I have to head to retail. So head over to reapermini.com or pm.reapermini.com for more details, or scan the QR code on the screen. But today we'll be focusing on Brinewind, City of Pirates. It's a location in Reaper's homebrew setting that is, as the title implies, a haven for piracy. As such, you can expect to see a number of pirate minis in this $50 booster box of sorts. But even if you don't plan on playing in Reaper's setting, this box should still be just as useful to anyone wanting to take to the seas or spice up their coastal towns. But enough blubbering. Let's get into the review, Why is the rum always gone? Well, probably because these skeletal scallywags are always drinking it up. These are the Skeletal Pirate Rum Runners. They're the first of the Skeletal Pirates we'll be looking at in this set, and the least useful in my opinion. Sure, they make for good atmospheric pieces, but is the barrel guy supposed to hop around on the barrel, or are these two skeletal drunkards gonna stumble around in combat after me? What are they gonna do? Spit up the alcohol on me? They don't even have lips, let alone lungs. Nah, these figures are more of a non-combatant sort of pieces, or just diorama minis, which is cool enough. Well, perhaps not made for combat, these guys could still be useful. This is the Skeletal Pirate Treasure Crew. Of these four, two I'd argue are probably the most useful that you could throw into combat. This one with a shovel here, good for digging, good for fighting. Hit somebody with a shovel, hits just as hard as with any old stick. We also have this one with a pickaxe, probably meant for breaking up soil and hard earth, but hey, could also be used to crack open skulls if needed. This one stuck holding the treasure presents a very fun opportunity, as it could run off with the party's loot, and then they'll have to go chase him down, maybe creating some kind of chase sequence where he goes off into the jungle. The map and lantern bearer could perhaps point the way to some kind of hideout. If you took the map from him, I doubt he'd rat out his other skeletal buddy there. I don't know, they're pirates. Even if they're dead pirates. If you did chase after the chest holder, you might end up running into these guys. Members of a skeletal pirate raiding party. They're more or less what you'd expect. Cutlasses, bones, tattered pirate memorabilia, peg leg, cleavers, hooks for hands. Some of the less piratey looking ones here could, I guess, be thrown into other contexts, but overall they do look pretty piratey. Aye, the skeletal captain. More of a decoration than a play piece, though I could see some scenario where the party needs to make it past all of his bodyguards in order to wrestle the ship's wheel from him. He's secured to the deck by two tiny pegs. If it were not to glue him down, you could take him off and put him on your own custom base. I might actually try that so I can get some more versatility out of him and use the wheel just as a little terrain piece. I like his little compass and how decorated he is. He fits perfectly on this platform, but he doesn't really have any combat stance. Alright, you best start believing in ghost stories, viewer. You're in one. Or I guess. I mean, this guy's a ghost, so that's why he's clear. Anyway, I feel like this guy would have maybe come out looking a little better if maybe he was casting like a green translucent. The clear that he is now, it makes it kind of hard to see the details. I mean, I can see his general shape. He has a peg leg and a cutlass there. But it's kind of hard to make out any details beyond that. Honestly, it's easier to see details in this video, and I'm still not looking to much, even now. Alright, last thing to see from this skeletal crew is the Anchor of the Damned. I guess this is what happens when you send someone to meet old Davy Jones. Well, you strap him to an anchor and just chunk him in the sea. It's a great terrain piece for use in your underwater adventures. I think it would give some kind of aura or area of effect if you were to use it to play. Maybe it would create some kind of betrayal effect or some kind of hallucinatory, thing where you think your party is going to turn on you if you get within a certain radius. I don't know, something cool like that. It looks really cool, but it's a static piece. It's terrain. Warning: the following minis may trigger a person's trypophobia, possibly also a fear for eels or worms. If you are not comfortable looking at these sorts of minis, skip this section by skipping to the next chapter on the video scroll bar or by fast forwarding until you see the image of Petey reappear. The Sons of Barty. Ugh. That's what these bloated corpses are called, and they are disgusting looking. Someone with an aversion to things with worms and holes, I really don't like holding these things. Can't say I would be rushing to paint them either. If anything, it probably speaks to how well sculpted they are. The less icky detail about these is these first two that I'm showing are actually bonus minis that they threw in for free later on during the campaign. You can kind of tell that they're bonus because they have a slightly different base than the other two, which go for the wood plank approach. Yeah, these guys are awful, and I don't even know that I can justify using them against any players. Partly because I don't know if I'll ever get around to painting them. They're just too icky for me. But hey, well done on the sculpts, guys. You really nailed it, I guess. Ugh. Alright, welcome back if you skipped that section. I want to take this opportunity to say that I really appreciate each and every like, comment, or subscription I receive on these. I make no money from ads or sponsorships on this, at least not as of current. I'm just making these as a hobby and learning the ropes as I go. If you'd like to help me out on this journey, then feel free to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. There are many more parts of this Kickstarter review series to check out, and I will soon be releasing some videos on a different Kickstarter along with some new and improved videos showing my miniature painting journey. A lot of things may slow me down from time to time, but with your help, I think I'll be able to power through. Alright. Now let's get back to the review. Since we didn't end up getting any sort of campaign guide, and I'm not a Reaper expert by any means, I don't really know much about the two figures depicted in these shrines. But what I do know is that they are a pair of piratey goddesses. One I think may be a bit more evilish than the other. I'm not entirely sure why one is much smaller and a little less detailed. cool compass it's got going on, though. You can make out lots of little piles of coins and things around these figures. And I guess the big one, you don't really have to paint like a shrine. You could just paint it as some kind of mer person resting on a rock. Either way, this is a nice pair of terrain pieces. Finally, we've reached the characters in the set, which make up the majority of the minis on offer. Most of these would be better suited as NPCs or townsfolk. Piratey townsfolk, but townsfolk nevertheless. We have a barkeep / innkeeper in the lot. Very frothy ale she's got there. A drunkard who's chugging a whole barrel of ale. As fun as this one might be, it may also be one of the less useful ones since he's a very specific sculpt and may not blend well in all crowds, certainly not in combat. He also has a pistol on his belt, which immediately puts up some red flags if you're using him in a no gunpowder campaign. Just like the barrel guy, this accordion player may look a little weird if you're having him run around, but as a mood setting piece, he's a lot of fun. This quartermaster could also make a good taxman or money lender or even a merchant. The scrolls under his arms could be maps, they could be important documents or magic scrolls. This may be one of the more underrated yet very versatile characters, at least in an NPC capacity. Sitting on a barrel, definitely a little weird running around, but I think this is still a good scene setting figure and a very well done sculpt. The way they've captured the pull of that thread on the sail is immaculate. Also, this sailmaker doesn't have to be making sails. They could be stitching any other kind of garment, which, again, adds to some versatility. The potential townsfolk don't stop there. Here we have a few merchants, specifically meat merchants. Up first is a butcher. Quite a character, this guy. Scruffy beard, a peg leg that actually looks to be some kind of bone, and a nice pipe. Certainly looks like a salty sailor or piratey folk. I think he may have actually meant to be on a pirate ship, but I could see him fitting in just as well within the towns. He comes with a little table hosting some kind of meat. I'm not really sure I want to know what that really is. Just a stroll down the dock is another butcher, a shark butcher / fishmonger. He looks like the kind of guy whose work you don't want to insult unless you want to get slashed with a knife or slapped with a fish. Not a super big fan of the whole shark butchering thing, as in real life, shark butchering leads to a host of ecological and ethical problems, but I get the idea that these pirates take everything they can get and won't be quite so wasteful and cruel as we have seen in some real life practices. Also, I remember there being a minor controversy around the dangling shark. I believe the sketch gave the impression that it was going to be much larger. And well, I think this is the right size for such a thing. I did also kind of think it was going to be a little bit bigger when I first saw it. Here we have a pile of proper merchant goods for a good and proper merchant. Well, a good and proper pirate merchant, anyway. Alongside the merchant, we have a little performing monkey with a little squeeze box accordion. Cute little guy. You could base him up as like a little companion or a familiar if you so chose. The chest would come with him, though. I keep all these little terrain pieces in a little bag since, well, they're pretty easy to lose, and I don't really want to do that. Good quality on these for what they are. I appreciate that the bottles on the barrel are actually glued, well, formed down. I really like this nice selection of fruits and things that this guy has on offer. The merchant himself seems to be in the process of hawking his goods, or maybe he's just wishing someone a peaceful day. Even though he's, I guess, dressed to be a little more piratey, he really would fit in basically any setting, as long as, there are merchants around anyway. Merchants of a different sort, we have a few Doxies. I don't see myself using these too much, personally, but they're neat to have regardless, I suppose. The human-looking one has some nice character with an eye patch and her hands on her hips. The halfling one seems to be cheekily ready to take a bite out of an apple or a mango or some other fruit as she holds a dagger behind her back. Some questionable implications there. And the half-orc seems to be doing their very best to attract new clients. These figures all come with this here roughly made bed, and look at that. It's Mr. Bones. Remember him? Old Reaper mascot Mr. Bones? Well, it looks like he's in for a different kind of wild ride because he's been made into a bedpost along with some kind of mer person. Also, it looks like a rat is perched on one of the posts too. Really speaks to the quality of whatever establishment this bed is. And with that, it's time to meet the crew. And we might as well start with the more job-based. Here we have a Sawbones to repair any damages the ship may sustain. I suppose you could use this guy as a sub for a surgeon of some kind. We have a pilot charged with keeping the ship on course and keeping things all in order. Love the little telescopes and satchels he's got, as well as the harpoon. We have a powder monkey to manage the ship's store of gunpowder and firearms. Very great sculpt, but problematic and not very useful if you don't have gunpowder in your setting. And finally, a swabby to keep the decks clean. I guess you could use this as any kind of, cleaning person in any other context as well. Certainly a few more rungs up the ladder than the other crew. We have some more pirate folks. At least I believe they're all pirate folks. This figure is some specific character from Reaper's line. Their name is Cagliari or something of that note. Don't know much about them, but they look really cool. Definitely look like they could be a PC or NPC of some note. Not entirely sure what's in that thing they're carrying on their back. An instrument? But cool swords. Also, I think this is a half-elf or elf, given the ears protruding. Another named character, this is Hannah. Again, don't know who they are, but they look neat. They must also not be too afraid of splinters or spills, because, like the swabby, they're just walking around. No shoes goofing. Following that very detailed and excellently sculpted model, we have an excellently sculpted but not so detailed, very generic pirate guy. This guy also has a pistol on his belt, so again, I guess you gotta be gunpowder conscious if you're gonna be using these minis, or just ignore it, I guess. Finally, we have our captain. Oh yeah, she definitely looks like the captain. And quite a villainous one at that, what with these skull boots and skull pin on the cap. With this barking orders stance on top of this treasure chest, I can definitely see this as being some kind of NPC villain that the party will have to overcome, perhaps fighting in some kind of sea battle. Well, that concludes all the characters, the human ones at least. We're stepping solidly into the realm of fantasy now as we transition to all non-human characters that still fit within this pirate theme. First up, we have a pair of catfolk. I'm pairing them up next to some from the core set. You can check out the rest of those in the core set video. See, they pair up very nice. Don't have any kind of odd scaling issues or anything like that. This one is the Catfolk Buccaneer. The pose is actually kind of similar to the thief from that other set, but I think the piratey theme is making it unique enough to not be a weird copy. This one a bit more piratey looking, perhaps a bit Puss in Boots looking, is the Duelist. Love the hat, very ostentatious. The stance definitely says that they are someone who is very confident in themselves, and what cat isn't anyway? Chasing their tail, we have a trio of Otterfolk Pirates and one of their familiar companions. Now, I say they're pirates, but take this Otterfolk wizard here. They don't have to be used as a pirate. Certainly they're very nautical themed, as they have the little starfish in their staff and some other ocean sea charms around them. But they could really be used in any number of contexts of which I guess you would find Otterfolk in. Love the expression and the outfit on this guy too. It's very adorable. As previously stated, he comes with a familiar, which is an oyster, I guess. I've never seen an oyster like that, but yeah, it's certainly a unique character. Don't know how useful he'll be in combat. Maybe he does spells, I don't know. Alright, this is almost kind of a grim figure here. This is an Otterfolk Pirate Goblin Hunter. Yeah, that's the head of a brine goblin, if you can call it that. Got his knee and leg up, perching that harpoon up there. Very smug, confident, this one. Very cool, though. Love the hat, love the coat. And last, we have, I guess, a generic Otterfolk pirate, stealing away some treasure. All of these figures have so much personality and detail, and none of them come off as too cartoony at all, except maybe the oyster one. I'd be happy to place any of these alongside the more grim and gritty figures that you could find in the rest of the set. And now, wheeling in is the last mini of the set, the Ogre Porter with cart. Pretty nice looking mini, but it doesn't fit together so good. I know, I haven't glued them, but that's not the thing. These pieces don't fit together evenly. The base, they go on the base just fine, but it's their actual connection. The ogre itself's pretty cool. I mean, look at that sack. There's a lot going on there. He's a pretty cool looking character. But it's the cart. There's something weird about the cart. They just don't fit together great. On top of that, the hands of the ogre are attached to the cart, not him. That's kind of weird. But look, these pegs, they just don't fit together quite right. No matter how I do it, there's a little gap. I've shaved them down to try to help, but there's a gap and it's not even, and yeah, I don't know. It just takes me back to that Dreadwolf from the core set that was also split down the middle. I don't know, splitting the mini down the middle like that just doesn't make sense to me for the assembly process, but oh well. Yeah. This one was just a bit of a disappointment. It's unfortunate. In theory, this was one of the big selling points of the set, but at least with this specific figure, not so much. And we're at the end of the set. No big showstopper minis here, just lots and lots of pirates, which isn't a bad thing. After averaging and rounding all the scores, I leave this set at a 9.5 out of 12. Some of the other sets are just a bit more strong, maybe a little more well-rounded. But what do you think? You disagree with my score? Do you have a favorite mini? I think mine's maybe the Otterfolk Wizard. Let me know in the comments down below. Now don't sleep on this deal. You got a limited time to go to the 5.5 Pledge Manager. So if you liked what you saw here, don't dilly-dally and head over there quick. Alright. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. See you in the next video.